It's literally the city of 1,000 lights, a city which emerges only at night. It's all work here. In fact, its residents don't sleep. Every evening, the city inside the Lake Victoria is formed by hundreds of fishermen who paddle their small canoes into the waters, each with a lamp or two by their side.
The light itself attracts the fish in the lake, and without attracting it with the light, you don't catch it. You start by putting the lights on top of water so that they float. By the time you finish your last lamp, then the first lamp shall have been ready for harvesting.
It's an extremely tiring and dangerous venture that the fishermen take to daily in search of a livelihood, as such that has one too many odds stacked against those who undertake it.
Right now you can see the lake is calm. There are times when it's raining in the dark or maybe in the night, and sometimes the lake itself is rough, but you have to be there for the whole of the night.
And even after enduring rough cold waters of the Lake Victoria overnight using outdated fishing gear, the fishermen's struggle have only begun. An even bigger challenge awaits them and their catch on the shores.
Storage is a very big challenge. As I've mentioned, you know, there's this issue of transportation versus storage. So you need to have some modern stores.
According to research conducted by different fishing institutes around Lake Victoria, of the 180,000 tons of fish netted each year in Kenya, 20 to 30% is lost due to lack of proper preservation methods.
Like where I'm coming from right now, Tabla Beach, we have a store, yes, but it's semi-permanent. At times when the catch is so good, you see that the catch itself cannot be stored in that one particular store. It means at times we have to dispose of our catch before the time is ripe. So actually we are appealing to the government to at least do something so that the storage can be expanded.
At the crack of dawn, the only option is to sell the night's catch to middlemen from hundreds of miles away who can afford the cooling trucks. The middlemen get the best catch, depriving the local economy here of quality fish. The best that women from here who rely solely on this get is a small dagaa.
We are in Homa Bay country where the fisheries is the backbone of the whole country. So if with the devolved system, we hope that some extra money shall be put maybe to cater for some modern technologies of fishing.
The fishing industry is further complicated by the fact that the little earnings that fishermen get, which is higher than the local average earnings, keep attracting hundreds of youth from the schools to the waters. And as the fish stocks dwindle, the fishing techniques get more and more desperate.
20 years ago, there was tons of fish in this lake. Literally, you could just stand here and see fish jumping out of the water 20 years ago. But then they got this manila, this plastic rope, started coming into the hardware shops, and the local fishermen bought this plastic rope and they made very big nets with small holes. So they could pull the net for 3 kilometers and pull out like 2 tons of fish in one pull.
However, awareness levels amongst the fishermen is starting to rise. More and more improvised storage facilities are starting to come up. But like in any other industry, they all feel a need to be met halfway by the government in the way of legislature and infrastructure that's business friendly.
Like you can see the float here. It's just homemade, but we've been surviving for it for the last years we've been fishing. We have to buy this lamp and then make this one, this float ordinarily. So we think that modern techniques should be put into place. We actually appeal to NGOs and sponsors to come in and make us have modern techniques of fishing.
We've been in these waters, in this part of Lake Victoria for less than 3 hours, but you're already feeling the exhaustion really creeping in on part of our crew. But for most fishermen who plow these waters of Lake Victoria, they have to do it all night long. But at the end of it all, there's not too much to show for it. It's estimated that Kenyan fishermen, under the right circumstances, can contribute over 10 billion Kenya shillings to the GDP. But for now, the fishermen have to contend with counting the coins. Every morning, they finish a night-long ride in the waters.
In our segment of Your Questions Answered, Adelaide, watching from Nairobi, asks how one begins the process of saving and investing, and if there is a logical sequence that can be used to grow money. We pose the question to Tanya Kunga, a financial advisor who also contributes on financial matters to the Saturday magazine, on our sister paper, The Standard on Saturday.
While saving and investing are two terms that are generally used together, they are not exactly the same. Saving refers to putting money aside for either an unforeseen happenstance that's going to be in the future, or for something like a vacation or an emergency. Now, when you're putting money aside, the policy behind this is that you have to have some extra money. You have some basic vehicles that you can use for investing. You can either invest in cash or bonds, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in shares. Now, those are the main vehicles that people use. And what tends to happen is that we as Kenyans, we tend to follow the crowd when it comes to investing. So you'll hear a certain organization floating its shares in the market and everyone will run in the same direction. One of the most important things not to do while investing is to follow the crowd.
We encourage you to send in your questions on whatever financial matter that concerns you, and we'll get an expert to answer you on air. Send your questions to our email address, ktnbizweekly@standardmedia.co.ke, or you can send a text message to the number 8040, but please do put the words Business Weekly first. Turning to the market report, as already mentioned, inflation is up to 6.54%. Economic growth for the third quarter of last year stood at 6.1%. At the bond market, the rate for the 91-day bill was 2.78% at the auction this past Monday. The rate of the 182-day Treasury bill was 2.85% on the 14th of March, and the rate for the 364-day Treasury bill stands at 3.99% since the last auction on the 7th of March. Looking at the average bank rate, as at the 11th of January, banks were lending at 14.03%, taking deposits at the rate of 3.43%, and the savings rate stood at 1.25%. At the Nairobi Stock Exchange, there were 18 stocks trading with dividends, and yields range from 1% at CFC Stanbic Holdings Limited to KCB's 5.60%. Other stocks include Revipingo, Bamburi Cement, British American Tobacco, KPLC, Standard Chartered, NIC Bank, National Bank of Kenya, BOC Kenya, Pan African Insurance, Diamond Trust Bank, Athi River Mining, Kakuzi, Cooperative Bank, Total Kenya, Housing Finance, and the Standard Group. The dates for the closing of books and payment of dividends for Housing Finance and the Standard Group are still subject to approval. That's all for this week's edition of KTN Business Weekly. Please do send your comments to ktnbizweekly@standardmedia.co.ke, and remember to send that question, which you can also send to 8040, but put the words Business Weekly ahead. In case you have anything else you'd like to share with us, we'd be glad to hear from you. Thank you for watching this edition, and from the entire KTN Business Weekly team, it's good night until next week's edition.